When was the last time you looked in the mirror and asked yourself, am I truly living my life or just the version others expect of me? You wake up each day chasing approval, trying to fit in, forgetting what it means to choose yourself, to respect yourself, to know your self-worth. You give so much, yet feel unseen. The truth is, the more you abandon your soul, the louder your suffering becomes. Buddhism reveals a forgotten secret. When you finally find yourself, when you always choose yourself, everything you've been chasing begins to find you. Peace begins the moment you stop betraying yourself. So, why do we fear the very act that could set us free? Why do we call self-respect selfishness? In this video, we'll uncover why you should choose yourself and how doing so transforms your relationships, peace, and purpose. Stay until the end. There's a powerful bonus lesson that most people miss about true self-alignment. Before we begin, subscribe to Deep Wisdom, where every video is a doorway to calm, clarity, and timeless Buddhist insight you won't find anywhere else. 1. The moment you betray yourself, peace leaves. How often do you say yes when your heart screams no? You feel it, that quiet ache in your chest when you go against yourself to keep others comfortable. In that moment, something inside you fractures, softly but deeply. The Buddha once said, "No one saves us but ourselves." Yet we often hand our peace to others like it's less valuable than their approval. The moment you betray yourself, peace leaves. It doesn't slam the door. It simply slips away in silence, waiting for you to remember where you left it. Every act of self-betrayal is a silent prayer for freedom. You may think saying yes keeps the harmony, but what it truly keeps is your suffering. Like a tree forced to grow against the wind, your spirit bends in ways it was never meant to. You become twisted around expectations, smiling when you want to rest, agreeing when you want to walk away, loving in ways that cost your soul its quiet. And soon, you begin to mistake exhaustion for kindness. But peace is never found in pretending. It is found in the sacred act of returning to yourself. Close your eyes. Imagine your spine straightening as you reclaim every piece of energy you gave away. Every time you said yes to what you didn't mean. Every time you dimmed your light so someone else wouldn't feel small. Every time you swallowed your truth because silence felt safer. One by one, call those moments back to you. Feel how the body softens when truth returns home. That is the beginning of choosing yourself, not from pride, but from awareness. In Buddhist philosophy, this is the essence of mindfulness, to live in alignment with truth. When you betray yourself, you create conflict between the heart and the mind. But when you honor your truth, even quietly, the mind settles like still water. Choosing yourself is not selfishness, it is wisdom. For a mind at peace harms none. Where have you been abandoning your truth to be accepted? What would peace choose for you right now? Who would you be without the need to please? Sit with these questions. Let them unfold gently. When you finally choose yourself, the noise fades, the fear dissolves, and the path clears. You realize the universe was never asking you to sacrifice your truth, only to remember it. Because when you finally choose yourself, the world doesn't shrink. It expands to match your truth. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "I choose myself every day." 2. Why choosing yourself is the most unselfish act. Can you truly love others if you've never chosen yourself? This question often lingers in the quiet corners of our hearts. We are taught that love means giving, that kindness means self-sacrifice, and that caring for others means putting ourselves last. But slowly, that giving turns hollow. The smile remains, yet the soul feels unseen. The Buddha taught that compassion begins with oneself. For how can you pour peace into another if your own cup is empty? Compassion without self-love becomes sacrifice without soul. You can give endlessly, but if the giving comes from depletion, it becomes pain disguised as virtue. Like a candle trying to light others while its own flame dies out, you begin to fade, not from lack of love, but from forgetting that you too are worthy of it. True love for others arises only when it is rooted in the same love you offer yourself. When you neglect yourself, even your kindness begins to carry the quiet vibration of resentment. Imagine lighting one candle from another, both glowing brighter, none losing light. This is what it means to choose yourself. It is not turning away from others. It is illuminating your own heart so that your warmth may reach farther. When you care for your mind, nurture your peace, and honor your truth, your presence itself becomes healing. Others feel your calm not because you gave them your energy, but because you tended to the source within. In Buddhist philosophy, self-love is not indulgence, it is awareness. It is the gentle recognition that every being, including you, deserves to be free from suffering. To choose yourself is to choose clarity over confusion, peace over guilt, authenticity over approval. It is the art of giving without losing yourself in the process. And from that wholeness, love flows. Effortless, abundant, unconditional. What if your love for yourself is the root of all kindness? How much more could you give if you stopped emptying yourself first? Are you mistaking exhaustion for generosity? Sit with these questions and breathe. The next time you feel torn between helping others and honoring your needs, remember this truth. When your inner flame burns steady, you become a sanctuary for others, not a sacrifice. To choose yourself is not to leave anyone behind. It is to lead with light that never fades. 3. The illusion of approval, escaping the trap of validation. What if every like and every compliment is just another invisible chain? We live in a world that teaches us to measure our worth through the eyes of others, through numbers, praise, and recognition. But the Buddha once said, "The mind addicted to approval can never rest." When your peace depends on the shifting winds of other people's opinions, you build your house on sand. And no matter how beautiful it looks from the outside, it trembles with every tide. We chase validation like chasing our reflection in a lake. The more we move, the further it ripples away. The more we strive to be seen, the more distant our true self becomes. You start adjusting your voice, softening your truth, shaping your dreams into what others find acceptable. Soon, you forget what it feels like to simply be. The applause feels good, but it comes at a quiet cost. Your stillness, your freedom, your truth. Imagine sitting beside a still lake at dawn. The water is perfectly calm. No ripples, no noise. There is only you and your reflection staring back. This is the image of the awakened mind, one that no longer dances for approval, but simply rests in being. The ripples of opinion fade, and what remains is clarity. Choosing yourself means allowing that stillness to return. It means no longer chasing love that must be earned, and no longer performing for acceptance that can vanish overnight. In Buddhist philosophy, the root of suffering is attachment, and validation is one of the subtlest forms of attachment. When you seek approval, you place your peace in hands that do not know your journey. But when you turn inward, you discover a deeper source of validation, awareness. It doesn't praise you, nor does it condemn you. It simply witnesses you, fully, compassionately, eternally. That is true freedom. Who are you when no one is watching? What peace have you traded for applause? What happens when you stop performing? Reflect gently. You'll realize that your worth was never something to prove. It was something to remember. When you finally choose yourself, the need for validation dissolves and life becomes quieter, lighter, truer. The world no longer defines you. It mirrors you. For the moment, you stop chasing the ripples. The reflection finally comes home. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "I choose myself every day." 4. When you stop apologizing for your truth. What if the world doesn't reject you? It just mirrors your self-doubt. So often, we bend our truth into smaller shapes, afraid that standing tall will make others uncomfortable. We soften our voice, dim our light, and call it humility. But silence, when born from fear, is not peace, it is self-abandonment. The Buddha taught that right speech begins with honesty, and right living begins with alignment. The moment you apologize for your truth, you begin to betray the very essence of who you are. The truth never begs to be accepted, it simply is. Like a mountain that never lowers itself to be loved by the valley, your truth does not need approval to exist. It stands firm, timeless, unshaken. Yet we spend our lives trying to be understood, chasing validation, hoping that if we make ourselves small enough, we will finally be embraced. But peace never arrives through shrinking. It blooms only when you allow yourself to take up the space your soul was meant to hold. Stand tall in your imagination. Feel your feet root like mountains into the earth. Breathe deeply. Feel the strength that rises from stillness. This is what it means to stop apologizing for your truth. To remember that authenticity is not arrogance and silence is not always kindness. There is quiet power in saying, "This is who I am," without justification or defense. The moment you choose to stand in your truth, the world begins to rearrange itself around your honesty. In Buddhist philosophy, living truthfully is an act of compassion. When you honor your truth, you free others to do the same. You stop demanding perfection from yourself, and you stop expecting approval from others. The world's judgments lose their power because they can no longer reach where you stand. You become anchored, not in ego, but in awareness. What truth have you been hiding to feel safe? How would it feel to be unapologetically at peace? What would your life look like if you stopped shrinking? Reflect softly on these questions. The moment you stop apologizing for your truth, life begins to respond differently, with respect, with clarity, with freedom. Remember, the world doesn't reject your truth. It reflects how deeply you believe in it. And when you finally choose yourself, you don't become distant from others. You become a light that reminds them of their own truth too. 5. The silence after chaos. What if silence isn't empty, but the beginning of everything? We spend our days surrounded by noise, opinions, worries, endless thoughts circling like restless birds. When the world quiets, many feel discomfort, as though silence exposes something they've been running from. But in truth, silence is not the absence of life. It is the gateway to it. The Buddha often withdrew into solitude, not to escape the world, but to remember it more clearly. For it is only when the noise fades that the song of truth begins. We chase chaos because it distracts us from meeting ourselves. The constant doing, the endless noise, it keeps us away from the stillness that asks the hardest questions. Like the moon reflected only when the storm clears, Your mind, too, reveals its light only when the winds of thought settle. You are not lost. You are simply hidden beneath the noise you mistake for living. The silence you avoid is the very medicine you need. Imagine sitting beneath a moonlit sky. No sound, no rush, just breath and the quiet hum of being. Slowly, thoughts dissolve like ripples disappearing into a still pond. In that moment, there is no fear, no desire, no demand to become anything else. Only awareness remains, pure, clear, vast. This is the silence after chaos, not emptiness, but peace reclaiming its home. In Buddhist philosophy, silence is not passive, it is the ultimate teacher. When the mind becomes quiet, truth reveals itself without effort. Answers stop coming from fear and begin to rise from wisdom. In stillness, you begin to understand that peace was never something to find. It was the space beneath every thought, patiently waiting to be heard. The world outside may remain chaotic, but within, a quiet revolution begins. What is your mind trying to tell you in silence? Are you addicted to noise because peace feels unfamiliar? What happens when you let stillness speak? Sit with these questions. Feel how life softens when you no longer demand sound to feel alive. The silence after chaos is not the end of your story. It is the return to your true rhythm. For when you finally choose yourself, you stop fighting the noise and you begin listening to the truth beneath it. The truth that whispers, you were always whole. 6. The turning point. When you stop betraying your soul for acceptance. How much longer will you keep proving yourself to those who don't even see your worth? You've spent years molding yourself to fit the shapes others wanted. Softer here, quieter there, endlessly adjusting to avoid rejection. But the cost of belonging, when it demands the death of your truth, is far too high. The Buddha once said, "No one outside you can give you freedom. It is something you awaken within." And that awakening begins the moment you stop betraying your soul for acceptance. The soul can't breathe in borrowed identities. Each time you say yes when your spirit means no, a small piece of you fades. You become like a bird living in a cage of expectations, wings intact, yet motionless. The cage may look beautiful from the outside, decorated with approval and praise, but inside, the silence is suffocating. You begin to forget the feeling of open air, of truth flowing through your being. Yet deep down, your soul remembers. It aches for flight, for the freedom to simply be. Feel that cage around you dissolve, even now. Inhale deeply. Breathe in the freedom of being simply you. No masks, no performances, no need to earn your place in the world. Just the pure, unfiltered presence of your being. This is not rebellion. It is remembrance. When you stop betraying your soul, you stop chasing what was never meant for you, and life begins to align itself in surprising ways. Opportunities, relationships, peace, they all find their way to the version of you that finally stopped pretending. In Buddhist philosophy, this turning point is known as awakening, the moment when awareness cuts through illusion. You realize that the need for acceptance was never about love. It was about fear. And when fear dissolves, truth becomes your compass. You stop asking, "Who will approve of me?" and begin asking, "What honors my spirit?" That shift changes everything. Who taught you to shrink to be loved? What if you didn't need to earn your right to exist? Are you ready to walk free from your own cage? Let these questions rest gently in your heart. Choosing yourself is not defiance. It is devotion. It is the quiet courage to honor your soul over the noise of approval. For when you finally stop betraying yourself, you discover that acceptance was never something to gain. It was something to return to within. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "I choose myself every day." 7. The path of detachment, letting go, so life can flow. Why does everything arrive the moment you stop clinging to it? We spend so much of our lives grasping at people, outcomes, and the idea of control. We tell ourselves that holding on tightly keeps us safe. But in truth, the tighter you hold, the more you suffer. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of all suffering, not because love or desire are wrong, but because we confuse attachment with connection. We cling to what should flow, and in doing so, we lose the peace that could have carried us forward. Let go, not because you stop caring, but because you start trusting. Life is not meant to be grasped, it's meant to be allowed. A river never chases what has already flowed past. It doesn't fight the stones or question the path. It simply moves, knowing that every bend, every fall, is part of its becoming. When you cling to what's gone, a relationship, a mistake, a dream that no longer fits, you stop the natural current of your own growth. The moment you release your grip, life begins to move again, and peace quietly returns. Picture yourself kneeling beside a flowing stream. You're holding something tightly, perhaps a thought, a fear, a person. Slowly, you loosen your fingers. You watch it drift away, not in loss, but in trust. Feel the soft relief that follows. The water still flows, and you are still here. This is the art of detachment, not indifference, but the courage to let life be what it is. In that surrender, you rediscover freedom. In Buddhist philosophy, detachment is not about rejecting the world. It's about being fully present within it, without needing to possess it. You can love deeply without clinging. You can care sincerely without control. True peace arises when you participate in life without being owned by its outcomes. The moment you release the illusion of control, you create space for life to surprise you, to gift you with what was waiting all along. What are you gripping that's keeping you from peace? Can you trust life enough to stop controlling it? What if letting go is how you receive more? Sit with these questions. Feel the truth settle quietly within. When you finally choose yourself, you stop clinging to what's slipping away and begin flowing with what's meant to stay. For the river of life was never against you. It was only waiting for your hands to open. 8. Choosing yourself isn't isolation, it's alignment. What if solitude isn't loneliness, but returning home? The world often confuses isolation with peace, as if being alone means being incomplete. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us, solitude is not an absence, it is a presence. It is the sacred space where the noise fades and your true voice emerges. To be alone with your truth is the beginning of awakening. It is here, in the quiet of your own company, that you begin to see who you truly are beneath all the noise of becoming. When you choose yourself, it may first feel like separation, like stepping away from the crowd, from familiar chaos, from the comfort of distraction. But what you are really stepping toward is alignment. Like a compass needle finally finding north when all magnets are removed, your being begins to orient itself toward peace, clarity, and authenticity. In the stillness of choosing yourself, everything false falls away. You realize that what felt like loneliness was simply life removing the noise that kept you from hearing your truth. Imagine sitting in silence, feeling your inner compass point toward calm certainty. No pull from expectations, no need to perform, no storm of opinions. Just you, breathing, aware, aligned. Feel how every breath draws you closer to your center, the quiet home of your soul. This is where strength is built, not in noise, but in awareness. You begin to see that choosing yourself doesn't push people away. It attracts what resonates with your peace. In Buddhist philosophy, this is the power of mindful detachment, the art of being fully present with yourself without seeking escape. Solitude cleanses your energy because it removes the illusions that distort your inner compass. It teaches you that peace is not found in company, but in connection, and that connection must begin within. When you are aligned, relationships become deeper, work becomes lighter, and life begins to flow with grace rather than force. Are you alone or simply becoming aligned? What truths appear when distractions disappear? How does solitude cleanse your energy? Reflect gently on these questions. In solitude, you don't lose yourself. You meet yourself, perhaps for the first time. And when you finally choose yourself, the emptiness you once feared transforms into serenity. For true peace is not found in the crowd's applause, but in the silence that whispers, "You are enough as you are." 9. The freedom of not needing permission. Who are you when you stop waiting to be chosen? For so long, you've been conditioned to wait, for approval, for timing, for signs that it's okay to live as you are. But the truth is, the moment you wait for permission, you hand your power to someone else. The Buddha said that liberation is an inner awakening, not an external gift. And indeed, liberation begins when you no longer ask to be free. Freedom is not granted, it is remembered. You were born with the right to shine. Yet somewhere along the way, you began to believe that your light required validation, that it needed to be earned, explained, justified. But like the sun, you were never meant to seek approval from the sky. You were meant to rise simply because it is your nature to do so. Choosing yourself is not defiance. It is the quiet courage of realizing that your existence, your truth, and your peace require no permission slip from the world. See yourself stepping into light, no hesitation, no apology, just presence. Feel how natural it is to stand there, unhidden. The air doesn't resist you. The earth beneath you doesn't ask for reasons. Everything accepts you because everything recognizes what you are, part of the same boundless whole. That is the essence of choosing yourself. It is the moment you stop negotiating your worth and begin living your truth without needing to explain it. In Buddhist philosophy, this is the essence of inner liberation, the end of dependence on external approval. When you stop seeking permission, you begin to act from awareness instead of fear. You no longer ask, "Am I allowed to be this?" but rather, "Is this true for me?" From that awareness, your actions carry the vibration of peace. You speak softer but stronger. You move slower but surer. And life begins to mirror that calm confidence back to you. Where are you still seeking permission to shine? Who benefits from your silence? How can you choose yourself today without guilt? Sit quietly with these questions. Notice how your heart feels lighter when you imagine not needing anyone's approval to be yourself. Choosing yourself is not a selfish act. It is a sacred one. For when you stop waiting to be chosen, you finally realize you were never waiting for others. You were waiting for your own permission to rise. 10. When detachment becomes magnetic. Why do people, peace, and opportunities come when you stop chasing them? It seems almost paradoxical. The moment you let go, everything begins to flow toward you. Yet this is the silent truth the Buddha often pointed to. The more you cling, the more life slips away. The more still you become, the more naturally things align. Detachment is not about caring less. It is about trusting more. It is the quiet knowing that what is meant for you does not need to be pursued, only received. Stillness is the loudest energy in the universe. Like a still lake that draws the sky's reflection effortlessly, your calm energy attracts what mirrors your state. When you are restless, you chase. When you are still, you invite. You don't need to run toward peace. Peace finds you the moment you stop running. And this is where the art of magnetic detachment begins. Not in pushing, not in grasping, but in being so aligned with your truth that life cannot help but meet you there. Feel your body become still. Your breath softens, your mind quiets. Imagine yourself rooted deeply, yet open, like a tree touched by the wind. You are not chasing, you are allowing. Everything that belongs to you begins to move toward you in its own rhythm. You realize that control was never the source of safety, trust was. In this stillness, your energy becomes magnetic, your presence serene, your life effortless. In Buddhist philosophy, this state is known as equanimity, the balance that arises when attachment falls away. When you no longer demand that life meet your conditions, you begin to see that it was always guiding you toward what truly serves your growth. The practice of detachment doesn't make you distant, it makes you wise. You start to understand that the universe responds not to need, but to energy. And peace is the most powerful frequency of all. Are you chasing what would naturally find you? What does your energy attract when it's calm? What would your life look like if you stopped pursuing and started allowing? Reflect gently. Life was never meant to be a chase. It was meant to be a dance. And when you finally choose yourself, your stillness becomes your magnetism. You stop reaching for what's running and begin receiving what's ready. For in your calm, the whole universe finally knows where to find you. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "I choose myself every day." 11. The courage to walk away. Can peace exist in places your soul has outgrown? There comes a moment when silence whispers louder than comfort, when staying feels heavier than leaving. This is the sacred moment of truth. When you realize not every connection is meant to continue, some are meant to complete. Walking away is not abandonment, it is alignment. It is the recognition that peace cannot bloom in soil that no longer nourishes you. Like autumn leaves falling, endings are not death, they are renewal. Each leaf that releases itself from the branch does not mourn the tree. It trusts the cycle of becoming. In the same way, the people, habits, and places that once sustained you may no longer serve the person you are becoming. The pain you feel in letting go is not loss. It is your soul stretching toward freedom. Every ending clears space for clarity. Every departure returns you closer to yourself. Picture yourself walking through a forest. The air is crisp, the light golden. As you move forward, leaves gently fall from your shoulders. Old attachments, outdated roles, fading versions of you. With every step, your energy feels lighter, your breath deeper. You are not losing anything real. You are shedding what was never meant to stay. In this letting go, you begin to feel the rhythm of life moving through you once again. Buddhist philosophy reminds us that clinging is the root of suffering. When you resist change, you fight against the flow of nature itself. But when you surrender, peace finds you. Walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the quiet courage to say, "I choose growth over familiarity. peace over approval, truth over comfort. You stop trying to fix what keeps breaking and instead learn to bless it and release it. What are you afraid to release, even though it's already gone? What peace waits beyond your attachment? How would your life feel if you only stayed where your soul breathes? Sit with these questions gently. Sometimes walking away is the deepest act of love. For them, for the moment, and for yourself. Because when you stop clinging to what has ended, you make room for what's destined. And in that empty space, your soul finally exhales, free, open, and at peace. Bonus lesson: becoming the still lake, living as your truest self. What happens when you stop becoming and simply be? So much of our suffering comes from the chasing perfection, love, meaning, and approval. We spend years trying to become something more, when all along, peace was not something to be reached, but remembered. Beneath all your striving lies a truth that has never left you. The quiet knowing of who you already are. When you stop running toward your worth and begin resting in it, life softens, the noise fades, and in that stillness, you finally meet yourself. The lake doesn't seek reflection, it becomes it. When the waters are still, everything finds its image within them. The sky, the trees, even the clouds that drift by. But when disturbed, the reflection breaks and the truth blurs. In the same way, when your mind ripples with fear, comparison, and desire, you lose sight of your essence. Stillness isn't the absence of movement. It is the presence of awareness. It is the quiet confidence of the lake that knows the sky will always return when the storm passes. Breathe in deeply. Imagine yourself as that still lake, vast, calm, reflecting everything, disturbed by nothing. Thoughts may appear like waves, emotions may stir like winds, but your depth remains untouched. You begin to see life not as something to control, but as something to observe. The Buddha taught that freedom arises not from grasping or avoiding, but from understanding. To live as your truest self is to stop fighting the ripples and start trusting the water. Ask yourself gently, what does it mean to live as your true self? How can you stay calm when life ripples around you? What if your stillness is your greatest strength? When you rest in awareness, you no longer mirror the chaos of the world. The world begins to mirror your peace. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop seeking and start being. To become the still lake is to live in harmony with the rhythm of existence. You no longer chase moments, you embody them. You no longer crave reflection, you are reflection. In this quiet, you discover the most powerful truth of all. You were never lost. You were simply waiting to remember. And now, as stillness settles into your heart, peace does not visit you. It awakens from within. Quick summary of the principles. The moment you betray yourself, peace leaves. Every time you say yes when your heart says no, you abandon your inner truth. This self-betrayal creates silent suffering that grows with time. True peace begins the moment you honor your inner voice instead of silencing it for approval. Choosing yourself is the first step toward inner freedom. Why choosing yourself is the most unselfish act. You cannot offer genuine love to others if you are empty within. When you choose yourself, you refill your spirit, and your compassion naturally expands outward. Loving yourself is not isolation. It's the foundation of real kindness and balance. The illusion of approval. Escaping the trap of validation. Seeking validation traps you in an endless loop of comparison and doubt. Approval from others is temporary, but self-respect is eternal. When you stop performing for acceptance, you discover a peace that no praise can match. When you stop apologizing for your truth, the world reflects your energy, not your excuses. When you stop apologizing for being yourself, you rise into authenticity and command quiet respect. Freedom begins when your truth no longer needs to be defended. The silence after chaos. True wisdom is born in stillness, not in noise. When you no longer run from silence, you discover a vast inner space where clarity lives. The chaos fades, and what remains is the peace that has always been waiting beneath it. The turning point. When you stop betraying your soul for acceptance, you reach a turning point when you realize that peace is more valuable than approval. Choosing yourself means walking away from spaces that don't honor your energy. It's the moment your soul remembers it was never meant to beg for love. The path of detachment, letting go, so life can flow. When you stop clinging to outcomes, life flows naturally. Detachment isn't coldness, it's trust, faith that what is meant for you will always find you. The less you chase, the more aligned you become with the universe. Choosing yourself isn't isolation, it's alignment. Solitude becomes sacred when you understand its purpose. In the quiet, you realign with your true nature and discover that peace was never outside you. Choosing yourself is not separation, it's returning home. The freedom of not needing permission. Liberation begins when you stop waiting for others to validate your path. You are not here to be chosen, you are here to choose yourself. The universe honors those who stop asking for permission to shine. When detachment becomes magnetic, stillness has a power of its own. When your energy is calm and centered, everything meant for you gravitates naturally toward your peace. Detachment turns you into a silent magnet for what truly aligns with your soul. The courage to walk away. Growth often requires walking away, not in anger, but in wisdom. Every ending is a doorway to renewal. When you release what no longer serves you, you make room for what truly brings peace. Becoming the still lake, living as your truest self. When you stop striving to become and simply be, you awaken to wholeness. Peace isn't something to find, it's something to remember. Living as your truest self transforms life into a continuous state of effortless harmony. When you finally choose yourself, you stop running in circles searching for love, peace, or meaning, because you realize they were never lost. You become the calm within the storm, the observer instead of the chaser. The moment you honor your own path without guilt, life begins to open doors that were never visible before. To choose yourself is to honor the divine spark within you, the same spark that connects you to all beings. The flower does not think of competing with the one next to it. It just blooms. So take this moment to ask yourself, what would my life feel like if I stopped asking for permission to be who I already am? Because the day you choose yourself, peace finds you effortlessly. If this message touched your heart, like and share this video, share your reflections in the comments below, and subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more enlightening Buddhist insights on living a peaceful, awakened life.